Hi, and welcome to my channel. Those of you that have been following me for a while know that in addition to model railroading, I also set up Halloween displays every year. And these involve using village pieces from Lemax, Spooky Town, and Department 56. And this shows a couple of the past year's displays. This year I was going to have an Old West section, and I wanted to use these two buildings that I was able to pick up on eBay for a very good price. These two buildings are part of their Halloween ghost town, and it's the Big Horn Saloon and the Blood Creek Jailhouse. And this shows you what they look like out of the box. This is the jailhouse. You can see the front. The side has a little shed where the coffin maker resides. And this shows the back. And the other side, where there's a sign about the rules inside the jail. And these photos show the saloon, which is also a hotel. And you can see on the front a couple of signs indicating card room. And on the side, they have a sign showing cards and an Annie Oakley type figure. And this shows the back of it. And the other side is plain with no signs. Now, I wanted to use these two buildings this year, but the problem I already had the Lemax Spooky Town Saloon and the Lemax Spooky Town County Jail. And I had been using both of them in my cowboy displays in previous years. This shows the jail with my haunted stagecoach in front. And this shows the saloon with my undertaker's carriage. But those gave me an idea. I thought I could use the haunted stagecoach and make one of the buildings into a stagecoach stop. And I could use the undertaker's carriage and make the other building into an undertaker's funeral parlor. And I had subsequently modified the undertaker's carriage so he doesn't look quite so happy and it doesn't look like it's in the snow. For the funeral parlor, I looked online and found a few signs that I liked. And after downloading them and adjusting them some in Photoshop, I laid them out in a program and printed out a sheet that had the signs that I wanted to use. Now for the stagecoach stop, it was a little trickier. I spent some time trying to think of a name that I could use for my stagecoach business, and I also used artificial intelligence to design a few of the signs. And I can tell you we're in trouble if we have to count on artificial intelligence to spell correctly. But I ended up with a few signs that I liked. And again, I brought those into Photoshop and edited them some, and then laid them out in a program and printed out the signs that I wanted. I first started working on the undertaker's parlor, and I didn't want to damage the building, so I made frames that were going to go around the original signs, and I would put my new signs on those frames, and they would fit over the signs that were already on the building without causing any damage. And this is just using tools and skills that I've used in my model railroad building. I made the frames out of strip wood, cut them at 45-degree angles, and then once I glued them together, I made sure they fit over the signs that were already there. Obviously, I didn't want any signs left showing that it was a jail, but I was lucky that the shed on the side said Coffin Maker on it, which fit right in with my undertaker's parlor. Once I had made the frames to go over the signs, I went ahead and measured them and made sure that the printouts that I was going to cut out were exactly the right size. Before I glued the signs onto the frames, I stained them so that they would look like old wood. Then it was just a matter of cutting out the signs from the printouts and gluing them onto the frames. And once I had done that, I went ahead and checked to see how they looked in place. And I felt having a body in a coffin in front of the undertaker's parlor was quite appropriate. And the signs did a good job of covering up the fact that it was a jail. Now for the saloon, it was going to be a little trickier work. It wouldn't be quite as easy to cover these signs, especially the one at an angle. But the first part I started on was the sign on the side. And this is going to be a ghost sign, which is one of those signs that's painted on but fading. And I had come up with a name for my stagecoach line. It was Ghost Rider Express. So using an image I had created and adding the text, I came up with a sign and printed it out on tissue paper. And then by using watered down white glue, this is a way of applying a sign to the side of a building and making it look like it's painted on and fading. And I applied it, and even once the glue dries, you can still see a little bit of the white behind it, but it looks like it was just fading paint. Now I started making a signboard for the front, and my thought was I'll attach the signs to that and it'll look like it was applied over the saloon sign, as some buildings in the Old West changed hands frequently. So after making my signboard, I started cutting out a couple of the different signs that I'd come up with to see which ones fit and what I liked the look of. Unfortunately, when I was removing the hanging sign that talked about dancing girls, it had a pin that went into a piece of the ceramic and it chipped on me, but I was able to repair it easily enough with glue. And then I picked the signs that I wanted to and glued those onto my signboard. And once I attached it to the front of the building, I used some artist pigments to weather it and make it look as if it had been in place for years. And this shows how the building came out with the signs that I had added. In addition to the ones that I had printed out and put on this side and on the front, I had also played with the idea of hand painting a sign, and I ended up putting it on the other side of the building, above where Annie Oakley and the cards were. And then I was done with modifying my two Department 56 buildings and repurposing them in my ghost town. While my main focus will always be model railroading and building structures that go along with model railroading, any form of modeling, especially if it involves creativity and artistic design, is enjoyable. And being able to modify these buildings and make them into what I wanted was much more enjoyable than just taking them out of the box and placing them on a Halloween display. And you can't start too early, because I always have a lot of projects that I have in mind before Halloween rolls around. And I hope this has inspired you to do a little creativity in whatever type of modeling you happen to be doing. As for me, I can't wait for Halloween to come. Thank you for watching.